Hello. Hello. Morning. Hello from the future. Hey, hello Tayane. Hello Nelly Melon. Hello Lini. Hello Nana. Renato. Who else is here? Hello Rodrigo. Hello Haley. Hello Carol. Chica. Hello Alessandra. Monica. Lian. Fair. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Whatever you are at the moment. Yay, hello. So good to have you guys here. How are you guys going today? Are you guys ready to talk about speaking? We're almost finishing our confidence week. Woo, just 2 more classes, so today and tomorrow. You guys excited to talk about speaking? I think speaking is one of the main topics. Just wait another minute so people can connect. So excited. I'm drinking my bucket of coffee. Hello, Lillian. Hello, Nana. I'm saying hello as well. Hello, Sarah. I'm so excited for today's lesson. So I'm nice to have big eyes today. So we're gonna keep the allergic mode today. So my allergy is not getting any better. It's actually getting worse. But I will survive. So we can do this. Hello, Bruno. Hello, Cynthia, Fernanda, Rodrigo, Stephanie. Yes, I like to start with this song. It's like my morning song. Because I'm happy. I really like it. It's like my morning boost. Do you guys have like a happy week, or do you have like a morning song or any song that you listen to when you need to like a boost of energy? Hello, Stephanie. Hello, Dee. Hello, Liv Portugal. Yay! Let me know if you guys have any song that is like your morning song or like your whatever song, like your boost of energy song. I think this is mine. Awesome. So let's get it started. Dri, what's your morning song or your boost song? I want to know. Let's share that and then we can get it started. I think this is my boost song, and I really like to start all my lives with that, because maybe like when you guys actually listen to the song, you're gonna look around like, oh, where is the Lily? So it's a good way of people to remember of that as well. Aqui Felipe fascinated by humanly. Yeah, so I think it's really important. Like, you know, like sometimes you just wake up in the morning and you, like, I have my lazy mornings as well. I'm just like, oh, I'm so lazy. I don't want to do anything today. And then I just put like my happy song, and then I'm like, it's because I'm happy. And it's kind of, it reminds me of what I'm doing, right? So it's like a good boost of energy. And then it's a good day of starting the day, like in a good mood. So let's get it started. All right, guys. So today is our lesson number 6 of our English Confidence Week. So if you're here for the first time, we've been doing like a week of free classes to increase your confidence to communicate in English. So today is our lesson number 6, and tomorrow we have our last lesson number 5, number 7. I'm forgetting the names and the numbers. So tomorrow, lesson number 7 is about English culture. So today we're gonna talk about speaking. I would say like it's my favorite topic, but I think every day I say the same thing. I don't want to be repetitive. I think every topic, every day there is like its own importance, right? So when we talk about speaking, the idea today is to talk about how you can increase your confidence to speak English, okay? And I'm not talking about perfect English. There is no such a thing like perfect English, but how you can get some more confidence to speak and to be understood and to talk to people and then actually communicate in English, right? Because I truly believe that when we start studying another language, what we really want from that language is to speak, right? To be able to talk to people. To be able to meet people, to connect to people, or to talk to people at work. So what happens sometimes with English, and I get that a lot, and that happened to me as well, is that sometimes we learn a lot of theory, but then when we get to the point that we have to speak, we just stop. Like we don't speak, like we feel afraid of making mistakes. We have so many like thoughts about what people are gonna think, what if I make mistakes, what if they don't understand me. So all these what ifs that we have in our minds, they are very destructive. So they don't help with our English confidence at all. So today I'm gonna talk to you guys about speaking English and what it is about and what you can do to speak English with more confidence, okay? Even if you're making mistakes. So the first thing that I want to tell you, it's like a very obvious thing, but it's something that actually blocks a lot of people from even trying. So a lot of people, they don't even try because they think, what if I make mistakes, right? So first thing I want to say is the only like certainty that you have, the only thing that you can be 100% sure when you are speaking a second language is that you are going to make mistakes. So sorry about telling you that, but you are going to make mistakes when you are speaking. I still make mistakes when I'm speaking English, and I still make mistakes when I'm speaking Portuguese, which is my first language. So I believe that we just get this heavy weight on our shoulders when we are learning a second language, and we tend to focus on the perfection, right? And I feel like we keep postergating the English speaking part because we are like, okay, when I learn more grammar, then I can speak. When I do this, then I can have a conversation. When I learn how to use prepositions in English, then I can talk to a native speaker. And this is the worst thing that you can do to yourself. So my first step for you to increase your English confidence to speak English is speak from the beginning. So if you are on your first English lesson, or if you are like, no matter where you are, if you are just thinking about moving to another country, if you are living in your home country, it doesn't matter, but speak from the beginning and go in small steps. So the more you wait, like the longer you wait to start speaking, the worse it gets, okay? Because the more content you know, the more grammar you know, and you are not speaking yet, you feel like you have to apply everything at the same time. So if you are just waiting to the moment that you're gonna start speaking English, stop. Like just stop right now and think, what can I do to start speaking English today? And then just go on small steps, okay? So of course, like you're not gonna go like your first English speaking experience and then you're gonna go for like a presentation, like a public speaking, right? Or like a job interview in your first English speaking experience. So this is like the perfect scenario to go wrong and to get you a lot of traumas, right? So what you guys are gonna do. So I'm gonna say is stop postergating your English speaking. Start speaking from the beginning, because the less you know, the better it is. Because if you just learn like one topic in your English class today, and then you try to speak and practice that one topic, practicing one topic, it's easier than practicing 100 topics. So what happened to me when I moved to Canada? I've studied English for at least 10 years before I went to Canada. And like I knew a lot of theory, right? I could read, I could understand, I could take like English tests, I could do like get good scores in grammar, whatever. Like I was studying English for at least 10 years. But I was not used to speaking. So when I moved to Canada and I actually had to speak and use English in real life, what happened to me is that I had 10 years of content to apply. And then that didn't work, right? Because that's too much content. And then I was like, I don't remember. I went blank. I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. And then I was just freaking out. Like I was literally freaking out because there was too much content to apply in one situation, you know, because I was waiting for the perfect moment to speak English. And I was waiting for this moment for 10 years. Like seriously, guys, like that was not a good option. Don't do that. Don't wait for 10 years to start speaking, okay? This is why I am here, because I don't want you to make the same mistakes that I made. So I'm telling you, don't wait for 10 years. Don't wait for the perfect moment to start speaking. It's better if you learn one topic and then you go and you apply one topic. And then you go back to school, you learn your second topic, and then you go back to real life and you apply the second topic. This way, you're gonna be constantly recycling what you're learning, and then you're gonna be practicing what you're learning. Remember that I talked to you about, I don't remember if it was yesterday or in another lesson, but we talked about study, learning, and repeat. So the learning cycle, right? 3 steps. Study, so go to school, study the topic, or go on YouTube, get an online course, study the topic, and then go to real life. Step number 2, go to real life and apply. Step 3, repeat the cycle and repeat and repeat, okay? So when we talk about speaking English, start speaking as much as you can from the beginning. So if you are not in the beginning anymore, and I believe you are not because you are watching this live, so at least you can understand what I'm talking to you, so you are not a beginner anymore, right? So it doesn't matter, like you cannot go back in time and start speaking from the beginning like I did. Like I didn't lose my, like I was not wasting 10 years of English. I just didn't practice, right? So it was a little bit hard, but what I did, I made this decision of start speaking and start applying everything that I've learned. So you're not gonna go back in time and start speaking from the beginning because you are not in the beginning anymore. But what I want to encourage you is start speaking today. Okay, like don't wait until tomorrow. Don't wait until you learn the present perfect. Don't wait until you have more vocabulary. Don't wait until you have the perfect job interview. Don't wait until you move to another country. Don't wait, okay? Start today and start speaking with what you have today, okay? And this is what's gonna get you more confidence to keep practicing, okay? So if what you have today is like, okay, I'm still living in my home country, so no one in my house speaks English, I'm studying in maybe like an intermediate or like pre-intermediate level. I'm not in a course at the moment, but I'm studying on YouTube. So imagine that this is your scenario today. What can you do with this scenario to start speaking? Okay, so maybe there is no one inside your house to speak English with you, but how can you use internet to do that? Or maybe you can start speaking by yourself, right? Start speaking aloud. Start exercising your English muscles that we talked about yesterday, about the English muscles. So the more you speak aloud, the more you are exercising your English muscles and the more familiar your brain is getting with English. So when we think about neuroscience, when we think about learning another language, how do we create confidence? We create confidence when we tell our brain that we are in a safe space, okay? So if our brain thinks that we are in danger, we're gonna get nervous, we're gonna get anxious, and we're gonna have this reactive feeling of protection, right? Sometimes we don't want to try to speak English because our brain thinks that that's a dangerous scenario, because the other person is going to judge us, or the other person is going to laugh at us for some reason, or they're not going to understand what we're saying, or we're going to make mistakes. So if we keep thinking about this, if we keep thinking about our mistakes, about what other people are going to think, we are telling our brain, we're having this internal conversation with your brain, that that's not a safe environment, that's not a safe situation. And because our brain doesn't consider that a safe situation, our brain's trying to protect us, right? So that's why we have this adrenaline. It's like, oh, I want to run out of the situation. I don't want to be here. I'm feeling very nervous because we don't feel safe. So this is our protection mechanism, okay? So how can we change this mechanism? What can we do differently so our brain understands that speaking English is a safe environment, that that person is not gonna attack us or judge us, right? So start getting your brain more familiar with the English language. So start getting yourself in an immersion environment. So the more contact you have with the English language, the more familiar this is gonna get to your brain. And then when you are in a real life situation, your brain is not gonna think that that's a scary situation anymore, because your brain is getting used to that scenario, okay? So what you have to do, you need to create this safe environment where you can actually speak English, even if it's with yourself, and that your brain can get more familiar with that. So what can you do to like for that to happen, right? So how can you create this safe environment? So I would say, speak English aloud as much as you can. So if you are in your house and no one speaks English in your house, what can you do? You can, for example, talk to yourself. It's like a crazy scenario, like yes, I'm a little bit crazy. I just like talking to myself. I'm pretty sure you like talking to intelligent people, so just talk to yourself, right? So that's a good practice. So how are you gonna do that? You can definitely talk to the mirror if you really want to, but you don't need to. You can just walk around the house. You can just do things, and then you start telling the story of what you are doing. So you just start speaking aloud about anything, right? So for example, if I'm here now, if I'm coming here to prepare this live session, I'll be saying something like, oh, and now I'm getting ready because I have this live session in 15 minutes. Today we're gonna talk about how to get more confidence to speak English. This live session is one session of the English Confidence Week, like 1 out of 7. And then you start to notice the type of vocabulary that you are missing as well. And then you can actually start looking for that words, and then you can start improving your vocabulary inside your house. And then imagine, for example, I'm gonna prepare lunch now. So now I'm walking to the kitchen, I'm gonna prepare my lunch. So what I'm cooking today is actually like an eggplant lasagna. So I'm gonna get the ingredients, which are like tomato sauce, and then the eggplants, and then the flour. I also need some eggs, and then you start like, it's like a narrative. You start telling the story of what you are doing. And then you start telling yourself, for example, what are your plans? So I can say, oh, tonight I have my friend's birthday. At 6:30 p.m. she's gonna come here, and then we're gonna go for the restaurant, and then we're gonna celebrate her birthday. So you start to create, it's like you don't have to create any type of imaginary situation, because creating is a little bit hard. But what you're doing, you are just using the situations that you already have. You are using like your real life situations, and you are creating this story. You are telling this story. Okay, does it make sense? Just write me on the comments if it makes sense. So when you start creating these stories and you start to speaking and telling these stories aloud, you are exercising your English muscles. You are getting your brain more familiar to the English language, because you are constantly having this exercise of speaking and listening to English things. You start listening more. Listening was our first lesson, remember, because the more you listen, the better you get, and then you get more vocabulary. And you also start to get more familiar to listen to English. So it's easier for you to listen to other people when they are talking to you. Try to listen to different accents as well. And then once you start to get this immersion, what is the immersion? It's like having as much contact with English as you can. This is the immersion. You don't have to be in another country to be immersed in English. You can immerse yourself inside your house, okay? During the quarantine, you can immerse yourself in English inside your house during the quarantine. So one of the first challenges that I did this year, it was actually to 14 days of English at home. So it was like 14 different activities that you could actually practice English inside your house. And one of the exercises, it was actually to go in your kitchen and then see all the names of the tools and everything that you have in the kitchen, and then search for the names in English, because there are so many small things around us inside our houses, and we don't know how to say those words in English. So even if you look around you and you think about every single piece of like furniture, clothes, utensils, tools that you have in your kitchen, in your wardrobe, your different types of shoes, right? We know how to say shoes, but what about the different types of shoes that we have? What about sandals? What about runners? You know, like what about these different types of shoes? We know how to say t-shirt, but what about the different types of t-shirts? What about tank tops? What about these little ones, like thinner ones, right? So we have all this material inside our own houses, and we don't use it because it's so obvious that we just look at it every single day. And this is the immersion. When you start to look everything that is around you and you start to think about these small things in English, this is what immersion is about. And anyone can do it inside your house. Anyone can do it. You can do this today. You don't have to be in an English course to do that. You don't have to live in another country to do that, okay? So this is the real immersion. And when you are speaking English is the same thing. You don't have to wait. That's a big mistake that I used to make when I was in Brazil. I was like, when I go to Canada, when I move to another country, then I will have the opportunity of speaking English. We can speak English inside our houses. I am inside my house at this moment. It's okay that today my house is in Australia, but like even if my house was in Brazil, I could be doing the same thing, right? And I am on Instagram speaking English with you guys. So I'm creating this opportunity. I am creating this situation to keep speaking English. Does it make sense? So what I really want to encourage you is don't wait for the perfect moment, because there is no perfect moment. The more you wait, the more nervous you get, because you're going to have more content and more theory to apply at the same time. And then the chances to forget what you've studied are much bigger, because you're going to have 10 topics to remember instead of one. So really try to do these small things, like just learn one topic and then apply that topic. Learn topic number 2, apply topic number 2, okay? So just go in small steps and start speaking today. How do you know if you are making mistakes, right? Imagine that you are just talking to yourself like crazy now in the house, like you are just speaking aloud, you are speaking English all the time, you are checking the names of the things, right? How do I say, for example, we know how to say blanket, but how do we call the thing on the top of the blanket, like the one that it's not fluffy? You know, in Portuguese we say edredom. So how do we say, for example, edredom in English, right? This is something that I have like in my house. So here in Australia, they call it a quilt or a duna. And in Canada, they used to call it a duvet. So I say duvet. And they have like a cover as well. So it's kind of separate things, right? And I didn't know that, right? Because it's something so obvious, it's something like just that I can see, and I use it every single day, and edredom. And I didn't know how to speak that, how to say the word in English. So it's so obvious that we don't really pay attention on that. So I really want to encourage you to get these small things that it's just like in your house, and then start telling this story like, and now I'm gonna wash the cover of my duvet, I'll put my laundry, I'll use the washing machine, and then after that I'm gonna put some softener and some washing liquid in the washing machine, and then after 1 hour I can go there and I can put everything inside the dryer. You know, like you start to tell yourself these stories. And why I'm telling this, because this is like real life daily English, right? When you are talking to someone, if you are getting used to tell these stories by yourself, when you actually have a conversation with someone else, it's gonna be much easier for you to tell that person what you've been doing. So if your friends ask you, for example, hey Aline, what are you doing today? I'm gonna look at them and I'm gonna say something like, oh, I'm actually like washing my duvet. I'm washing my duvet cover. So I'm putting like in the washing machine, and then I just need to wait for the dryer. And then after the dryer is finished, then I can go out and meet you. So when you start getting more familiar to tell yourself these stories, you can tell these stories to any person. And this is how you start getting a conversation, okay? Does it make sense? Do you guys have any questions about this first part? Let me know. And then I'll go for the second part, how to increase your confidence to speak. Awesome. So when we talk about let's think about the sequence, right? So, okay, now I'm talking to myself. So I'm getting more familiar. I'm telling my brain that this is a safe environment, that English is a safe language for me. So I'm telling my brain this safe story, right? So I'm slowly getting more confident to speak English, and I'm also exercising my English muscles, right? So I'm speaking aloud. Guys, this is very important. You need to speak, okay? You need to use your mouth, your tongue, you need to use your English muscles. You are not speaking inside your head, okay? So that's a huge mistake. A lot of students, they come to me and they are like, Aline, but I understand everything, but I don't speak. Like, I create the sentences in my head, and then when I have to speak, it's like if my tongue's not following. Does it happen to anyone? Let me know. If your brain is faster than your tongue. So you can actually create the whole conversation in your head. And then when you actually have to speak, you speak something like, and then you don't speak anything, pretty much. So that's so common, like so common. And why does it happen? Why does that happen? And I saying every time. Gislaine is laughing. It's laughing, but it's true, right? You're laughing because it's true. Yeah. It's like my brain is faster than my tongue. And then I just try to speak up. It's like my tongue doesn't follow my thoughts. So it gets really complicated. Yeah. So why does that happen? So what happens is that all the time we are speaking English, but we are speaking English inside our heads. So what you practice is what you get good at, right? So if you are practicing talking to yourself inside your head, if you are telling the story of your day inside your head, you are going to be very good in speaking inside your head. But the problem is that when you are going out and talking to people, people don't know how to read your mind. Ta-da! So you actually need to speak with your mouth and your tongue, right? So that's a problem, because if you haven't practiced how to speak with your tongue, how to speak with your mouth, how to produce the sounds, you are not gonna speak to another person. And that's why it gets so hard. It's like if I think about singing, like I'm such a great singer inside my head. Because when I try to sing, it's like no one really wants to listen to it. Even I don't want to listen to myself. Like once I recorded myself singing, and I was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry about my friends. Like I feel bad for them now. Now I understand, right? When I talk in my head, it's very different. Yes, that's true. So it's just like, guys, it's so funny. Like, and it's the same with English. So we're like, yeah, I'm a great English speaker inside my head. The problem is when I actually have to speak to someone, right? So why does that happen? It's because you are not practicing how to speak aloud. So when you are having these conversations at home, when you are talking to yourself, you actually have to talk to yourself aloud. So you actually have to use your mouth, use your voice, use your vocal cords, use your English muscles, and speak. The only way to improve your speaking is speaking, right? So you actually have to let the words come out of your mouth. And this is how you're gonna get better. And how do you know you are making mistakes? Recording yourself. So you're gonna record yourself, and then after you're gonna listen to yourself. And this exercise is gonna freak you out for the first week. You're gonna be like, oh, is that my voice? Like, oh, I feel bad for my friends, right? Like, oh, is that how I sound like? It's like, oh, look at this English, like, right? It's like, this is not me, like it's like a double personality, that's another person. But when you actually record and you listen to yourself, this is how you get your mistakes. So when you actually listen to yourself, this is the only way to know what you're doing. So if you are speaking like a robot, for example, if you are speaking every single word like that, when you record yourself, you can actually get that. And this is not how native speakers talk. So you know that you need to improve that, right? If you are just speaking every single word separately, when you record yourself, you realize that you are doing that. If you don't record yourself, you don't know that you are making mistakes, and you don't know that you're speaking like that. And this is the only way that you can only fix mistakes that you know you are making. If you don't know you are making a mistake, you cannot fix it. Unless someone tell you that you are making that mistake, and then you know you are making that mistake, right? Sometimes we are speaking like robots, but we don't know that. And this is why it's so hard to be fluent in English, because we are not sounding natural, right? But when you actually stop and you listen to yourself, that's when you know when you need to improve, okay? And don't be too harsh on yourself. Like, don't try to fix all your mistakes at the same time, okay? So just get one, and then you try to fix that one mistake. And then after you fix that one mistake, then you can go for another mistake, okay? And then just do like one at a time. Also, something that I took notes here that I really want to talk to you is that when we talk to native speakers, or when we talk to people in general, okay? So we have this idea that people are trying to judge us, or people are trying to correct us, and we feel afraid of making mistakes. I'm gonna tell you something. People are not trying to correct you. And they are not going to correct you unless you ask, because they are just trying to understand what you're saying. Like, they are so busy trying to understand what you're saying that they don't care about your grammar mistakes. Seriously. Like, if you can use the words, if you can pass the message, that doesn't matter, right? That's the main thing about speaking a second language. So of course, depending on what you're going to do, you need like more or less English. If you're gonna work, for example, in a type of job that you have to be like in meetings and presentations and negotiation, and you actually have to have like many different types of conversations, of course you need a higher fluency level, okay? But when you are making friends, when you are connecting to people from different countries, when you are connecting to native speakers, they are not worried about your grammar mistakes. They really want to connect to you because of who you are and not because of your English level. No one is gonna ever stop you on the street like to have a conversation, and they're gonna be like, hey, excuse me, what's your English level? And you're gonna say like, oh, it's intermediate. Oh, sorry, I only talk to advanced speakers. Like, this is not gonna happen, you know, like people are really like, honestly, they are just trying to understand what you're saying. They are trying to make friends as well. They are human beings as well. They make mistakes as well. So like they don't care about your grammar mistakes, you know? Like even we had this grammar lesson already, and like even my friends who are like native English speakers, they don't correct me. And I actually asked them to correct me, and they are like, I don't like correcting people. Like, you know, like they don't want to correct me. So I'm like, please, like I'm a teacher, like I want to speak better. So can you please correct me if you see like I'm making the same mistake over and over again? And they are like, fine, we're gonna correct you. You know, like, but they don't want to. It's like, it's so annoying to be like correcting people. So they really like, they are my friends because of who I am, and not necessarily because of like the English that I speak, you know, like it's like they really want to connect to people. They want to learn about culture. They want to do all of that. And something that I talk to my Australian friends as well is that when we moved to Australia, for example, when I moved to Australia, as a Brazilian living in Australia, we think that Australians is something like very hard to find. And we're like, how can I become friends with Australia? You know, like it's something like very far away from our reality. While for them, it's the opposite. So for them, it's like Australia is just their home country. So like it's so normal for them that when they look at us, they see like, oh wow, look at all these Brazilians, like they're having fun together, like they're speaking another language, they came to the other side of the world, like they travel around the world, like they have so many stories to tell, like I really want to connect to these Brazilians, like I want to know more about their culture. So for them, it's the same thing. But then what happens is they look at us, and what happens is that we are in our groups. So because they don't speak Portuguese, they feel shy to come and talk to us and be friends with us. So sometimes we are so like closed mind because we're just seeing our point, like, oh, it's so hard to connect to Australians, like where are they, like they're always in Australian groups and blah blah blah. But if we stop for a moment and we think about the opposite, we are exactly on the same situations as them. Like they are in exactly the same situation that we are. They want to connect to us. They want to get to know us. They want to learn about our culture. They are interested in our story. They want to know what we're doing in Australia, why we came here, why we decided to live in another country. This is fascinating for them. So like they want to be friends with you as much as you want to be friends with them. But if you keep thinking that your English is not good enough, that they're gonna judge you, that they're gonna correct you, or being afraid of making mistakes, you'll never do that, okay? And what happens as well is that sometimes we have some bad experiences because of work. Like sometimes depending on the type of work that we're doing, people are rude. And this is not because of their nationality. This is just because some people are rude, you know, like, and we cannot take these people as an example and just generalize that everyone is gonna be rude with us. You know, like once it was like one of my first month in Australia, and I went to a pub, and the girl was so rude with me. Like the girl who was actually working at the bar, she was so rude for no reason. And I was like, hey, like, what is going on? You know, but like, I cannot just say like I'm having a bad experience because of one person. So of course I was shocked. I was like, I didn't do anything for this person to be rude at me. But I was like, maybe she's having like a bad day or whatever. And I was just the wrong person at the wrong time, you know. But like I have so many other friends and they really compensate the situation, you know. So don't let your bad experiences block you from trying again. I really believe there are so many good people out there and people just want to connect to other people. And my main reason to speak English today is because I want to meet people from different countries and I want to learn about their culture. I want to travel. I want to visit them. I want to create like friendships when they come to Australia. I want them to be able to stay in my house. So this was my motivation, right? And seriously, like, it doesn't matter your level of English, you can still have a conversation. If the person really wants to connect you and if you really wants to connect to someone, like English is not going to be a barrier. I have some friends, and I'll give one example. One of my friends, she came to Australia with no English, and today she's married with an Australian, and they are super cute together, and he learned Portuguese as well. So her English level was like very low, but they wanted to make it happen regardless her English level. And then another way of making it a little bit easier, it was for him to learn her language. So if you want to be friends with people, if they want to be friends with you, English is going to be your smallest problem because people will try to understand you. And I have so many, even Brazilian friends with like low English levels, and they still come out with me. They talk to my friends as well. They become friends with my friends who speak English, and that's how they start improving their English. So don't wait for the perfect moment. Don't wait for your English to get better to start talking to people. It's like the opposite way. So start talking to people and then your English is gonna get better. Okay, doesn't make sense. I'm gonna repeat this part because it's very important. So don't wait until your English gets better to start talking to people. Start to talk to people first and then your English starts getting better, okay? So it's the opposite way. Just don't wait. Just start the level that you are today. You can start. Just start with the vocabulary that you have today. And then slowly in the process, you improve your English and you improve your fluency, okay? And still, like, sometimes I just ask some words. Sometimes I don't know some vocabulary and I'm like, hey, what is this word? Like, what is the meaning of this word? And my friends just look at me like, I don't know. Where did you find that? You know, like, or sometimes I teach them some words and they are like, oh, what is that in English? And I'm like, oh, I know. You know, like, but it's just because I've been studying for some years. And then even like I can help them with English sometimes. And don't worry too much about grammar, like, because native speakers, they know how to speak English, but they are not good at grammar. It's just like me. I'm not good in Portuguese grammar. Does it make sense? Like, I don't know how to explain Portuguese grammar. If someone is learning Portuguese and they ask me like, oh, why do you say this instead of that? I have to stop and think about it. And sometimes I can't answer, you know, like, because I only speak Portuguese because it's my first language, but I don't know Portuguese grammar. I just speak, and I make a lot of mistakes in Portuguese as well. So like for them, it's the same thing, right? So they don't worry about grammar. They just want to speak. They just want to make friends. They just want to have a good time. And that's pretty much it. So just start with what you have today. And what you have today is more than enough to start. Okay. If you only have, hi, how are you? If you only have, hi, my name is Zarina, I'm from Brazil, start with that. Start with mimics, you know, like start showing pictures, but just start with what you have. Awesome. So I'm gonna answer your questions. I'm gonna read your comments now. I'm so excited. I love talking about this. I'm really afraid of talking English with people. Yeah, so just start with blah 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 blah. Back. So just start with what you have today, and just something that really helps. So one tip to connect to people, it's find something in common. Okay, so when you have something in common, it's easier for you to have a topic to talk about. So for example, when I come to Australia, when I came here in 2018, I was really determined to meet people. I was like, okay, if I'm gonna live in Australia, I want to meet people. And I was like, I'm gonna make everything that I can to meet people. So what I did, I joined some meetup groups, and one of the meetup groups is actually for beginners in surfing. So it's like a beginner surfing group. And then I started to go to this group very often because I was like, if I just keep going to different groups all the time, I'm not gonna truly connect to people because I'll be always in the phase of meeting people. Like, hi, my name is Eleni, blah, 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 blah. And I'm gonna get bored of the same conversation. So in my head, I had this. I was like, I need to go to different meetup groups. I'm gonna choose one that I like the most. I like people the most who have something in common, and then I'm gonna stick to it. So I chose the surfing group for beginners, and then every single event I was there. Of course, like people come and go, but then other people that they were going in the same group over and over again, we started to have different and deeper conversations because we were seeing each other again. And then we did like surf camp. We did like weekends out of the city and like camping and just like daily surfing and lessons and blah, blah, blah. And it's still like almost 2 years later, I still don't know how to surf. Everyone learned how to surf and I didn't because I'm super scared of water. But my goal was never surfing. My goal was meeting people. And I'm pretty sure I made this. So I'm super happy about it. And today, most of my friends in Australia, most of the friends that I have here in Australia, I met them because of the meetup group. And then after we started getting to know each other, we started to do other things, just like in small groups, just like this group of friends, without the meetup. So we started to travel together. We started to do like, like camping together, just like our small group of friends that we all met because of the meetup, the surfing meetup. And I still don't know how to surf, but at least I have friends now and I can speak English with them and they are lovely and we have a lot of things in common. So this is one tip that I can give to you to meet people and to start talking to people. Find something that you have in common. So look for Facebook groups of topics that you like. If you like traveling, try like couch surfing, try to connect to people who like traveling as well. And then always look for something in common. If the person says, for example, oh, I've been to Melbourne before, for example, it's another city in Australia. And you can say, oh, really? Like, I really want to go there. What do you think? Did you like it? Do you have any tips for me? So you start to find these common spots and then you start to connect to people and then you start to create these friendships as well. Okay, so just find something that you like, go to places that you like. So for example, I like going to church because I like people from church. Everyone's like super friendly, everyone's trying to do like some good stuff, charity, and I really like these like volunteering things. So I was like, oh, maybe church is a good place to meet people. It's like people in the same vibe as I am, because I'm not really like a party person. So I was like, yeah, maybe I should like go to like some meetups, do some like yoga classes, maybe like try to meet people at church. So these were like the main places about like things that I like, that I knew I could find similar people to me, like people who like similar things that I like. And then I knew it was like a good place to meet people. Because if I don't like party, for example, And then I just try to like go out every single weekend and drink and try to meet people like that. If it's not something that I like to do, it's not gonna be genuine, right? I'm not gonna go out and drink just to meet people, you know, like just to get less shy. But of course, like I can go to a pub. I like live music, so I used to go to pubs and then like drink something, sing, and then meet people as well. So the important part is don't try to be another person. If you don't like doing something, don't do that just to meet people, because this is not gonna last, because you don't really have something in common. But find things that you like, and then find people that like things that you like, and then you can actually have something in common to talk about. Okay, cool. Let me read your other comments. I felt that I improved my English when I've talked with another person. Exactly. And then you start to connect to people, to connect with people from different countries as well, right? Because it's different when you are talking to someone from your country in English, because you both speak the same first language. You probably make similar mistakes. So even if the other person is making mistakes, you can still understand each other. So if you are always speaking with Brazilians, even if it's in English and you are Brazilian, this is not gonna help you a lot, because even if the other person is making mistakes or if you are making mistakes, the other person can still understand, okay? So try to speak to people from different countries. So if you are Brazilian, try to speak, for example, to Spanish speakers in English, Italians, French, and then you start to change the accent as well to get a little bit harder. So talk to Japanese, Koreans. That was my group of friends in Canada, like mostly Koreans and Japanese, Taiwanese as well. It's easy to find Chinese in Australia as well. I used to live with a Chinese girl and two Australian girls in my prior house. I have a friend from New Zealand, and then you go for native speakers after. So go like to different countries, but it's still English as a second language. And then I would say the last stage, you start to be more comfortable to speak to native speakers. Because even for native speakers, sometimes it's hard to get their accent, right? So even like my Canadian friends, sometimes they find it a little bit harder to understand Australians, for example. If they are from the countryside, they speak a lot of slang. They make like some different types of jokes. They have a different humor. So imagine for us, right, as like non-native speakers. So that's really something helpful. Let me just check the time. I still have 5 minutes, so I can tell you a story. When I was in Canada, I used to be in a group of friends, like people from different countries, right? So I had Chris, my friend from England, and then I had my friend from Sydney, Australia, another friend from Melbourne, which is like different accents, even though they are both Australians. I found my friend from Melbourne much harder to understand than my friend from Sydney. Another friend from New Zealand, a friend from Canada. So we were like these five guys from different countries, but all English native speakers. And I was the Brazilian lost in the group, which was a lot of fun. And sometimes we were just having some conversations. And my friend Chris from north of England, he loves making jokes. And no one we didn't understand his jokes, because even for my friends who are native English speakers, that specific type of joke, it was so specific from the north of England that no one else could understand. And everyone was just like looking at each other like, Chris, what you're saying? Like, what's that? And then he had to explain. And as a Brazilian, watching that, for me, it was like mind blowing, because I was like, oh, wow, like it's not because I'm not a native speaker, like they don't understand. So I'm like, so I'm fine. Like, I think I'm okay here. And that's something like, because it's like expressions, slang, accent. So sometimes it's not a matter of English. Sometimes it's really like something regional, okay? Same discussion about mexerica and bergamota that we had in the first lesson. Change my mind, great, be confident. Yes. Thanks for the feedback, guys. Love it. Hello, Lucas. Hello from the future. My dream is actually to go to New Zealand because New Zealand is more future than Australia. Then I'm gonna be in the future. I'll be like, yes, I'm super in the future. I don't like talking about Brazilian. Exactly. So I find it harder to speak English with another person from my country because I feel more judged by other Brazilians than people from other countries. Because people from other countries, they're not trying to pay attention on my English and on my accent. They are just trying to have a conversation. So I feel less pressured to talk to people from different countries. Even for me to come on Instagram and speak English with you guys, it's a challenge. So it took me a while to do that. It's not easy at all. Even to speak Portuguese here, it was harder. And then I changed everything to English. And I got a lot of messages. I got some very beautiful messages. Like, I love getting your feedback. Like, Aline, I'm so happy that I can understand you. Your English is very clear. Thank you so much for speaking English. It's a good practice for the listening. So I love this feedback. But I do get some messages. One girl, she texted me one day and she was like, oh, like, I really wanted to participate in your course, but sorry, like, I find your English so basic. Like, I think it's good for beginners, but not for me. And I was like, okay, like, I didn't ask for your opinion, but like, fine. So yes, guys, once we put our faces on the internet, it's like, we don't know what's coming, like, seriously. So I honestly love and appreciate your messages. They are really important for me because that helps me to keep going as well. You know, like, it keeps me motivated when I get this type of comments that you're posting here, like, oh, this really helps, like, thanks for your tips and blah, blah, blah. So this is why I'm doing it, right? It's like, it keeps me with the purpose in mind. So thank you a lot for that. I'm really good at mimics. Yeah, mimics really helps. And like, when the person wants to understand you, they are going to understand you no matter what you're doing. And they're gonna help you a lot. Like, my friends like helping me when I ask them for help. Like, they feel very, very useful. And they actually like helping. They don't like correcting me, but they like helping. So it's really helpful. They have fun trying guess what I mean. Yes. And I just laugh when I make mistakes. I'm like, oh, that thing, like that blue thing round. And then I try to explain. It's super cool. Like, seriously, it's a lot of fun. Sometimes I feel like shame when I expose my language mistakes to native patience mistakes during conversation. Okay, that's a little bit rude, but I'll teach you a technique very quickly because I have 2 minutes and Instagram's gonna put me off. So if someone is rude at me, I ask them to talk to me in Portuguese. I was like, okay, sorry for being rude. So let's just speak Portuguese. I am on my second language. I'm almost on my third language because I can speak Spanish as well. So I'm like, okay, like, if my English is not good enough, so just talk to me in Portuguese. Let's see how it goes. Simple, rude, but simple. If the person is being rude with you, just be rude back. Like, don't take it home. Like, no, 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 no. Like, no, I am learning your language. I am trying to communicate to you, so you respect me. Like, I think, guys, respect is like number one thing. Seriously, like, if the person is being rude, turn your back and go and talk to someone else. Like, I just don't do that. Seriously. Yes. Toronto, Shepherd region, Chancellor, I think that it's hard when we talk and hear people from different countries with different pronunciation. Exactly. And then, but it's good practice for listening, Stella. Yeah, it's not good for, like, it's not good for pronunciation, for example, because sometimes you don't know if the other person is making mistakes as well, right? But it's really good to practice your listening. So keep talking to people from different accents. Yes. Leanne saying your presentation is much better than a lot of Americans. Thank you. Dri saying your English is my inspiration. Thank you, Dri. Oh, you guys are so cute. I have 30 seconds. Awesome. So thank you so much, guys. I'm gonna save this live. Tomorrow we have our last lesson. We're gonna talk about cultural differences. So tomorrow is gonna be a lot of fun. So you can't miss it. I'll see you all tomorrow. Thank you. Bye bye.